Okay, day 4 of the Bible recap. Today may have taken you by a little bit of surprise because it was a whole different book, the book of Job, not Genesis. So again, I jumped into this whole thing without doing a whole lot of explaining. I need to explain that this plan is in chronological order. So what happened is that Job's story takes place right after the Tower of Babel, about 400 years post-flood. So we're going to have different stories nestled in books that don't necessarily go in book order, but go in chronological order. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Job. I will tell you that the first time through, this completely wrecked me. And it being on day 4, when we just got into the Bible, I did not know what to do with all this information. So luckily this time we have each other, so let's get into it. This story is a little heavy. It can get a little dark. It's super important that in these dark moments in the Bible that we focus on looking for God in these moments, okay? So what we see is Job. We meet a blameless and upright man, very much like Noah, who is favored by God. The reason I really like the Bible recap is the Bible Project videos. If you watch those videos before you get into reading these chapters, it really helps you understand all the things. And I've watched those videos multiple times. So this really helped me understand Job. So if you have not watched that, go back and watch those videos. They're going to be so helpful. So God strikes up a conversation with Satan. And it's important to know that Satan can mean more than one person. Actually, 1/3 of the angels fell from heaven, it says in Revelations. And so there's many Satans. The word Satan means adversary, right? We do get a name of a certain Satan named Lucifer, but that doesn't mean every time Satan is mentioned in scripture, it is the same person. So it is just an enemy of God. So Satan and God are having a conversation, and Satan's basically like, yeah, well, your people, they think you're so cool when everything's going well. Imagine if like everything in their life went to, what would they think of you then? They would curse your name. And God said, not my man Job. Job would not do that. And so Satan basically said, bet. Okay, bet he wouldn't. And God says, okay, test him. Test him. You can do everything, but do not kill him. And so Satan goes to testing Job. He tests him in multiple ways. At first, he kills off his livestock. He kills off his hired help. He kills his children. And his faith is unwavered. And so God goes, yeah, told you, my man Job, he is faithful. And Satan said, well, if you took a man's health, then he wouldn't be faithful. And God said, okay, try it. Like I said, just don't kill him. And so he curses Job with like these pestilent sores all over his body, inside and out. And so much so that Job starts to curse the day he was born. He does not curse God. He curses the day he is born. And he goes very into detail. Like, how dare I live through birth? How dare my mother be able to sustain me with her milk from her body? Like, I just wish I had never been born. Not one time does he curse God. And it's funny because in this, his wife goes, why don't you just curse God already? Just curse God and have it be over with. And he says, no, I'm not doing that. And one of my favorite things is like, we can take the good from God, but we can't take the bad. And y'all just got the chills. Because like, we want to be blessed with the good, but we can't take the bad. And so what we learn is like battles and blessings, you're going to have both throughout life. And Job just is a beautiful example of how to deal with it until his friends. So let's think about how you want to be comforted. Something terrible has happened to you and your friends come over. Like, what do you want? Like, one of my favorite things to say when something terrible happens is like, I have no words, because there's nothing that I can say to make you feel better. I have no words. I'm praying for you. I'm here for you. I'll help you however you need. But like, I have no words. So literally, they sat with him in silence for the longest time. And that is one of the best ways that you can be there with someone, just to be there, not even saying anything. But the problem is after 7 days, they start to open their mouths. And the rest of Job, we're going to be looking at how the story unfolds. So this sets it up, and then you have one friend that comes in. And I did not write down his name, but his first friend that enters basically says, well, Job, God is a just God. So you had to have done something to provoke all this that has happened to you. And God keeps it straight, and he says the whole time, like, no. Job is a righteous man. So this shows that just because you are righteous does not mean bad things can't happen to you. And it's a very tough pill to swallow. It's very tough to think, because we have in this world, bad things happen to good people all the time, and wicked people get blessings, right? So there's a lot to unpack here, and this was a very, very heavy book for me the first time through. I'm not going to put all of my ideas into your head. I want you to think on your own, but I struggled very much. So much so I went to a Wednesday night at church, like a Bible study, and I talked to someone and I was like, this really doesn't sit well with me. Like, it does not sit well with me. Job breaks my heart. And he explained that it had to happen in order for God to prove that he was sovereign over all. Like, no matter what you see here, God would not let Satan kill Job. And Job came out on top, which we haven't got to yet. But because I'm trying to keep these shorter and shorter, let's go ahead and get into our God shot. And the God shot's very much kind of what I just said, that God is in control. That even though bad things happen to good people, like, God is in control, and he limits the enemy. He limits what the enemy can do to you. Okay? And sometimes we have to be fighting our enemy too, right? We can pray, we can do all the things, but we have to fight it. We have to fight our flesh, and we have to fight the enemy. And it is some spiritual warfare out there, y'all. Another thing is that every action serves God's purpose. Even if it is a negative action, somewhere in the story we see it reciprocate and God uses it later. So that is the beginning of Job. It is a very heavy story. So I'm happy to answer questions or just chat with you about anything. And again, like, I'm no expert on this, but I have some people in my life that are experts. And if I have questions that I have questions about, I'm going to go to them. So if you have questions, I can go to them too. So you let me know, and we will see you tomorrow for more of Job in the Bible recap.